Hello everyone, it is going on 1:30 in the afternoon on Tuesday. I have meant to start this vlog yesterday, but I have been way too busy freaking reading. Truthfully, that has been what I've been the most busy with because I've been trying to catch up a little bit on my reading schedule. I got very behind. I'm basically only halfway through one of the books that I was supposed to finish. I was supposed to finish it yesterday, and I'm probably not going to be done with it here for another couple days. But let me go over real quick what my reading is for this week. Holy crap, this is heavy to try to lift with one arm. Okay, so the book I was supposed to try to finish yesterday, but I'm only just about halfway through, is Black House by Stephen King and Peter Straub. I'm just basically trying to truck through this as often as I can while reading my other two books, and soon to be 3, then soon to be 4 books, I think. So it's gonna be an interesting week for sure. But you can't say that I haven't been actually reading a ton. So Black House is going to be, for my Stephen King reading series, is the second book in the Talisman duology. This so far, I actually really like. I like this so far a lot more than the Talisman. But the thing is that this book, compared to the Talisman, is less focused so far in the first half on the territories and stuff that we learn about in the Talisman, but we've just reached a point in this book where they are going to be more apparent, because this book basically focuses on the main character from the Talisman, Jack, when he is a full-grown adult, and he doesn't have many memories about what happened to him in the Talisman, but he is a retired cop who gets involved on this serial killer case that's been going on in this town in Wisconsin, where basically this man called the Fisherman, who was a serial killer years ago, has either resurfaced, or there's a copycat killer basically, who is kidnapping children and killing them. And Jack is, all the while this is happening, having flashbacks, having things happen where they kind of seem like waking dreams, and it's all stuff that he thinks might have something to do with the territories, because like I said, as time is going on, he's starting to really kind of relearn what exactly happened to him, and he's starting to basically remember a lot of things. But the first half of this was really focused on the finding of the murderer, which they haven't found as of yet still, but they just basically reached a point where Jack is understanding that part of what's happening is having him have to figure out stuff about what's going on in the territories, because there is a woman who is the mother of one of the children who starts to go crazy. You start to see her descent into what a lot of people think of as madness in this book, and you learn that basically what she is seeing and what she's experiencing is stuff that is coming over from the territories, or what she calls as far away or fair away. And Jack basically is under the impression that whatever is happening here has something to do with the territories, either causing things to happen or somebody is going back and forth. There's also this idea of a particular house in this area called the Black House that may have something to do with what's going on. Like, it might be some kind of a portal, maybe? I don't quite know. They haven't really gone far into it, but I'm currently on page 293. I'm on chapter 15 of this, and I'll basically be working on this over the course of the next couple of days, which was not ideal. It was actually supposed to be, like I said, something I finished yesterday, but I was having to play a lot of catch up, and that just kind of fell to the wayside. This also, though, is counting for one of my GreekGodathon prompts, which I need to look up real quick. It is for the prompt Athena, which is to read an intended book for 2022, like something you were already planning on reading this year. And so this is going to get me 5 points for GreekGodathon when I finish it. And that's the only thing it's counting for other than my Stephen King reading series. So then the 2 books that I'm currently also working on that I'm actually on schedule with so far, I have Ace of Spades by Faridah, Abike-Iyimide, which is my read not only for the Royally Booked Book Club with my friend Princess, but this is also counting for GreekGodathon and for Mini Magical Readathon, which is happening this week. So I'm basically doing 2 readathons this week along with my other stuff that's going on. For GreekGodathon, this is for the prompt Artemis, which is to read an anticipated read. This will get me 5 points when I complete it. And I'm currently on page 307. I'm on chapter 32, and good Lord, this book is absolutely amazing. I did not know I was gonna enjoy this so much because the beginning of this was kind of like iffy for me. I really was not jiving with one of the characters, Chiamaka, but as the story's gone on and like the whole mystery has been developed, I'm like literally sitting here on the edge of my seat with anticipation. This also, though, is counting for Mini Magical Readathon. This is going to be counting for the conduit prompt for a spell book. I am a part of the, what is it? Circle of the, what is it called? I'm thinking of Circle of the Moon. I'm basically a part of the, for God's sake, what is it called? I don't remember. Order of the Crescent, that's what it's called. I'm part of the Order of the Crescent with Mini Magical Readathon. Character Kaylin is an elf who is a part of the Order of the Crescent, which basically is more of your magic wielding kind of orders. And so for her, for the Order of the Crescent, you have 2 conduits you are able to use, and I picked a Spellbook and a Quarterstaff. So for the Spellbook, the way that Ace of Spades works with this is that the prompt is to have a book with 2 S's in the title. So Spades already there has 2 S's. And then the last book that I'm working on as of today, on Tuesday, is Renegades by Marissa Meyer. This is actually a reread for me. This is for a reread / finish series that I am doing for the Renegades trilogy because I have read the first 2 books in this series, and you can see I have all of these tabs here. I am replacing these as I go, but as of now, I have to go back and replace some of the tabs that I've had. But I'm currently on page 141, chapter 11. This is also for GreekGodathon, working for the prompt of Hera, which is to read a book with a strong female character, which will earn me 5 points. Also, I think I should mention, because I don't think I have, for GreekGodathon, I am a part of the team Aries. That is who I pledged my allegiance to. And my ability with Aries is that I can pick any of the prompts for my main prompt between Team Chaos and Team Control. So basically, I can pick any 7 prompts from the entire list of prompts that there are, and anything past that counts as if it was going to be if I was picking a prompt from the other team. So this one in particular is for one of my team prompts, technically. So this will earn me 5 points. Okay, so I have 3 other books I'm planning on starting and getting through most of, if not completely finishing this week. First of which is The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski. This is actually first and foremost for my Wheel of D20 books. This is the final book I need to read to win the Wheel of D20 for this month. But this is also counting for a couple of things. Yes. So for GreekGodathon, this is counting for my prompt for Hades, which is to read a book with the undead and will earn me 5 points. But then for Mini Magical Readathon, this is also going to be for my legacy prompt, which for the Order of the Crescent, you have the ability to have a animal companion. So you have to read a book that has an animal familiar, which in the Witcher series, this basically would work with Roach. You don't know what The Last Wish is. This is basically a compendium of short stories that are supposed to be read before reading the Witcher series proper. It's kind of like a prequel collection of short stories, basically. And this was specifically, like I said, for my Wheel of D20 books, which was to read a book that my husband picked because my husband has been wanting me to read this series for God knows how long, and I'm finally going to read it. I'm going to read the first book and get started with getting through The Witcher, adding on to many of the series that I'm finally starting this year that I'm probably going to regret later on. Speaking of series that I'm going through currently as of like this year, the next one that I'm going to be starting this week is The Dragon Reborn. This is book 3 in the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. I finished up book 2 at the end of last week, and so around Thursday, according to my reading schedule, I'm supposed to be starting this, and I'm not going to be finishing it by the end of this week, but I will be finishing it up hopefully beginning of next week. But the only thing this is counting for, other than obviously my Wheel of Time reading series I've been doing, is that this is going to be for my GreekGodathon prompt of Hephaestus, which is to read a sequel and will earn me 5 points for my team. And then finally, the last book, the 6th book that I will be reading and should finish by the end of this week because this is going to be for Mini Magical Readathon, is The Rules of Magic by Alice Hoffman. This is the second prequel to the Practical Magic series. This follows the story of the aunts that we know in the story of Practical Magic, Fran and Jet. And this is going to be for that reading series that I was doing because I read Magic Lessons in January, and I meant to read this in February, but didn't get a chance to. For GreekGodathon, this is also counting for my prompt for Hestia, which is to read a cozy story or something that feels cozy. This is the only book that is not particularly for my team. This is outside of the books that I could pick. Out of the 7 prompts I could have chosen out of all of them that would count toward my team. So this is technically going to be something that is going to be outside of my team, which means that this book would earn 3 points as opposed to 5. Then also for Mini Magical Readathon, this is going to be for my second conduit prompt, which is for a quarterstaff, which means I have to read a book that is part of a quartet. And as of now, the Practical Magic series is 4 books. The 4th book was actually, and technically, a sequel to the Practical Magic series, came out in October of 2021. So there's 4 books in the series. I don't know if there's gonna be any more, but as it stands now, it is a quartet. So those are all the books I'm planning on reading this week. Holy hell, I'm gonna be a reading machine. Yeah, it's gonna be intense this next week. And like I said, Black House I was supposed to finish yesterday, but I'm kind of just carrying it on through this week because it's really more so for GreekGodathon than anything else and my Stephen King reading series. I got a lot of books I'm gonna be reading this week, so this might be a very long vlog and I am not gonna apologize for it because that is how the dice rolled for me for this week. Okay guys, so it is 4 o'clock right now in the afternoon and I just got a very, very exciting package. I normally don't like showcase this kind of stuff, but I'm so excited and I need a little bit more content so that it's not just me giving you random updates. But just had a UPS deliver my new phone that I ordered this past weekend. And the lady was so nice. Oscar was so excited to see her and she gave him a treat. So he is over the moon happy. But he's probably gonna go back to sleep because he was in the middle of a nap when she arrived. But all I've done so far is basically just broke open the seal on this, but I haven't opened it. So let's check it out. I got the Apple iPhone 13 Pro, I think that's what it was. So got the paper, the receipt. I think it was the Pro. Yes, the Apple 13 Pro, and I got it in the gray color, kind of similar to what the one I have now is. I like the gray color. I'm not a huge person on like the white or like the big fancy colors. If I was to get the 13, where it only has the 2 cameras as opposed to the 3, I would have gone for the red because I've wanted the red since the 7. So anyway, I know I'm supposed to, I have to update my, back up my phone still, but I wanted to open this up and just show you guys what I got. Ooh, okay. Wow, I feel like these cameras stick out a lot more. Oh, okay, and the phone itself is like a lot sturdier. Like the casing around the outside of this one reminds me of like the old iPhone 5. You guys might remember that, but here we go. Nice, satisfying peel off. So I do need to get a case for this, but that's probably one of the things I'm gonna do today. So I'll take my case off of the one I have currently so you guys can kind of see the difference if you're not, you know, familiar with how this looks. It does only come with the phone cord for it. It does not come with a charger. So taking the case off of the current phone I have, you can see that it's kind of slimmer. And then this is the new one. So you can see that the phone is like it's much more bulky. But as far as size they're fairly similar in size. Like, it's just a hair bigger than this old one, but it's the exact same color, just in like a slightly bigger phone. And I think the camera too is bigger. Like, you can even see like it's taller and wider than the camera on my old phone. A reading update since I'm here. I did get to my reading goal for Ace of Spades today. I'm on page 348 of that. I am more through Black House. I've got to page so far 359. So planning on reading more of that tonight, but I have some work I do need to get done here before the end of the day. So I'm gonna get a couple things done with work, order my case, and then get my phone set up. So I will speak to you guys later. So it is just after 3:30 in the afternoon on Wednesday. I almost said Tuesday because it feels like this week has already been super long, but it is Wednesday. I've had a very busy day today. I had to, during my lunch for some time, go basically do a drug test because of this transition I'm doing with work. I'm basically being transferred to another agency. Still have the same job, but basically it's the same thing I had to deal with about this time last year. And so basically had to go do my drug test today because it was going to be due by Friday. So I've had like a really weird break within my day, but on my drive to the place I had to get my drug test, I finished Ace of Spades by Faridah, Abike-Iyimide. Holy shit, this book was good. This is so far one of my other favorites so far from this year. I have a couple, but this is my newest favorite. It is super awesome. It was really interesting to see the whole thing progress, and even by the end still feel very unsettled, because there was like a final twist by the end of this book where there was a lot of questions, but at the same time, like, something really, really cool happened that did, in a sense, like, wrap stuff up for the most part. And I will say the epilogue for one of the characters, Chiamaka, the best ending I think I would have asked for with her, truthfully. Like, it was so freaking good. I will say, though, that at first, I think that the first 25% of this or so, I was unsure of what I was going to think about it, because I did not relate to Chiamaka in any way. I mean, for one, she's a black girl, I'm a white girl, you know, we don't have exactly the same background, anything like that. But I didn't connect with her in the sense that I felt like she was this super prissy, super high maintenance woman that was basically everything that I hated about high school and about the girls I went to high school with. The girls that, you know, flaunted themselves in the sense that, like, they flaunted their money, flaunted their academics, all these things. I really didn't like Chiamaka at first because of that. You do learn that a lot of that is insecurity based, which makes sense, but at the same time, she really rubbed me the wrong way for a good part of this book. And I'm gonna say right now, for those of you that are getting ready to read this isn't necessarily a spoiler, because this is kind of the point of the whole thing, but do not trust anybody. Do not trust a single person that you come in contact with in this book, because nobody is able to be trusted. So this is really cool. Like, if you don't know anything about this story, it's basically about this school called Niveus Academy, where there are only 2 black students who are our main characters in the entire school. We have Chiamaka, who is the senior head prefect of the class. She is the only black girl in the school. And then you have Devon, who is the only black male in the school, and he basically gets placed as one of the other prefects of the class, but he's not like the top one like Chiamaka is. And you learn that both of these characters, even being black, have very different upbringings, and you see a lot of the differences in terms of that aspect, more so to do with class. I'm going to place major trigger warnings, though, in this for classism, racism, homophobia. Like, this book made me cry and scream so much because of how unfair things were being in this book, and how just absolutely fucking awful things were going on in this book. Like, I mentioned in our Discord for this, because this was the Royally Booked Club pick for this month, that I had so many times by halfway through this that I had tossed the book across the room and was crying and screaming because I felt so awful about what was happening. And this is something where I don't know anything about being in the situation that these two characters are in, because like I said, I am a white woman. I do not go through half of these shit that these two characters go through that are very synonymous with what a lot of Black people go through on a daily basis. But it hurt my heart so much because I am incredibly empathetic and I feel pain, even though it is not my own actual suffering and pain. When I read characters or I hear people talk about the things that they go through, the pain that they endure, it is very hard for me to not feel and not be so pissed off for other people. And I understand that that is not necessarily how you should be, handling these kinds of situations. But what I think is interesting is the fact that I feel so much for these characters because of what they go through that it pushes me even further to really strike back against things that I see that are bad, things that about racism that come up in my life. It makes it feel so much more important for me than it already was in my life for me to stand up for people that are being, attacked for their race, for their identity, whatever the case may be. I can't really say too many more of my thoughts about this without really spoiling a lot of the book, but what I will say is that the things that come up in this are things that are incredibly likely to happen, and I do believe have happened in some capacity in some point in time, whether that is currently or in the recent past, something along those lines. None of the stuff that happens in here necessarily surprises me, but it is still sickening for me to read because of the fact that I know that this stuff could happen. So definitely enjoyed this. 5 out of 5 stars, absolutely loved it. Pretty much ate through a lot of it very quickly. Regardless of my reading schedule, I feel like I flew through this book. And that this was honestly having me have to slow down because I wanted to eat through this entire book in like one sitting, but I had to reserve myself from not doing that because I had other things I was trying to read. It does also complete not only my Royally Booked Club read for this month, which the live show was tentatively announced today, but this also was for GreekGodathon for my prompt of Artemis, which was to read an anticipated read, so I earned 5 points for this. And this did complete one of my conduit prompts for Mini Magical Readathon, which was for my Spellbook, which was to read a book with 2 S's in the title. So 3 things kicked off with this one, which is super nice. I am closing in on the end of my reading needs for Renegades today. I'm currently on page 367. I'm on chapter 29. I think according to the audiobook that I have from my library, I'm like almost 70% of the way through this. So this is going to be finished up tomorrow, but I'm almost at the point I need to be for today, which is page 454. So I should be able to get through that by the end of my workday going into the evening. And then I am still trucking through Black House by Stephen King as well. I'm currently on chapter 19 of this. I'm on page 383. I don't know how much more I'm going to get done of this today because I do also need to start The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski. I only need to get through the first 95 pages of this. Robert is going to basically be gone all evening because he is helping a friend of ours with moving his stuff to his new house. And that was because this friend actually came and watched Oscar for about an hour and a half, 2 hours or so, while I had to go get my drug test done. So that was super nice. So he's going to be gone basically most of the evening. So I'm going to be able to sit and just read a ton. Last night I was planning on reading a ton and I just felt very foggy after having my dinner and watching a little bit of Survivor. So I don't think I'm gonna watch Survivor tonight because I just finished up season 9 and I want a bit of a break even though I only watched like 3 episodes to end off season 9. I really just kind of want to crank through the rest of what I need to read of Renegades, what I have of The Last Wish, and as much as I can tonight of Black House. Like that's my big goal for tonight is to get all of these things through. I don't think I'm going to finish Black House tonight by any means, but I'd like to get a good chunk more through this. Hey guys, so it is going on 12:30 right now on Thursday. I have finished 2 books. So first, I finally did manage to finish Black House by Stephen King and Peter Straub. This was for my Stephen King reading series. It is the second book in the Talisman duology, and this was also counting for my book for something. Now I can't remember. This was counting for the prompt Athena for GreekGodathon, which was to read a book I had intended to read in 2022, so I earned 5 points for this. And I ended up giving this 2 stars. Wasn't really as great as I had hoped it would be. Then I just, as I'm filming this, like within the last 2 minutes, just finished Renegades by Marissa Meyer. This was for my reread series / finish series of the Renegades. I started off with this. This is the 3rd time I've read this, and it still ended up being 5 stars. I still love this book so much. Like, it is my favorite beginning to any series so far that I've ever come across. It is just absolutely wonderful. This was for GreekGodathon, my prompt for Hera, which was to read a book with a strong female character or protagonist, and so this earned 5 points for that. And I did update all of the tabs, so they are much nicer now. And funny enough, I didn't realize this until I was going through this, but the majority of the tabs I had were pink and blue for things I love and things that made me cry, which I think is interesting because like all the things that made me cry were like really just touching moments or really sad. And then last night I did get started with The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski. I'm on page 95 of this and have yet to start it today for my reading, but so far I love this. Like, I started this last night and I told Robert not even like 15 pages in that I was already in love with this. I was really concerned with the writing, whether or not, especially because it's translated from Polish, if it was going to be really hard to read, but I was assured by my friend Princess at Castle Library, like it is absolutely a fly through it kind of book, and that is very much how it feels. I love Geralt already a lot, and so much to the point that I was interested in this that I actually started to play a little bit of The Witcher 3, which I had never played before, but it is one of my husband's favorite games and is why he wanted me to read the Witcher series, because he knows that I would love it with the fact that I love high fantasy, that the games themselves, I really like, you know, a lot of the mechanics involved in it, and the story of it all like is what he thinks I would really enjoy. So he did get me to play like basically through the first part of like the tutorial stuff in the game, and was kind of just getting started with the real story of it past the tutorial. But I didn't play for very long because I was very tired by the time I actually started to play it. And I think too, I would like to be able to sit with him and watch the Netflix series, because I think season 2 is already out of The Witcher, if I'm not mistaken. So I would like to be able to watch that series with him, because not only does he want to watch it because he loves the games, but now that I'm reading the books, you know, I really want to watch it myself, because for one, Henry Cavill plays Geralt, and he is a very attractive man, and Geralt's a very attractive character. Like, I could go for some thirsting of Henry Cavill, you know, because I do like him. I think he's very, very attractive, and I definitely see why a lot of people who love the series love him as Geralt, because I think he definitely exudes the power and the, I wouldn't say necessarily charisma, but the overall personality, I guess, of Geralt. He very much hits that on the head just from what I've seen of the trailers of The Witcher. So I think that I'm going to enjoy the crap out of it. So want to get through more of this today, and then today I also would like to start reading The Dragon Reborn. This is book 3 in the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. I'm not going to get too far into this. I'm going to get through, I think the first 60 pages was what my reading schedule said. So I'm only going to get through the first like 4 chapters in the prologue. Last Wish is going to be completing my prompt of Hades for GreekGodathon, which is to read a book with the undead. There's a lot of undead monsters. And then for Mini Magical Readathon, this is going to be for my legacy prompt, which is to basically, because I'm part of the Order of the Crescent, I get the ability to have a animal companion. And so in order to have that, I have to read a book that has an animal familiar. And most people know that Geralt has his horse Roach, who I definitely think my character within the Magical Readathon campaign idea, she would definitely have a horse. Kaylin would have a horse. It's something that is easy to travel with. And The Dragon Reborn is only going to be counting for something other than my Wheel of Time reading series and getting caught up with that, for the prompt Hephaestus for GreekGodathon, which is to read a sequel. So this is book 3, so this counts. Hey guys, so it is going on 2:30 in the afternoon on Friday, and I have finished The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski. I loved this so much. I'm so excited to continue with this series. I just, from beginning to end, was hooked. I love Geralt. I love all of the little stories and the kind of frame tale that there was going within this. So I ended up giving this 5 out of 5 stars. So this was for my GreekGodathon prompt of Hades, which was to read a book with the undead. And then for the mini magical readathon, this also was for my prompt of a legacy book, which was basically to get my ability to have animal companions. This also did complete my Wheel of D20 reads for this month, so I have won the Wheel of D20 game for March, which is super exciting. So I have already got started with my reading for The Dragon Reborn today. I'm currently on page 87, chapter 7, so already good way through this. I want to get to page 219 today, which I think is like chapter 21, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, chapter 21. So I've still got quite a bit to go with this one today, and then I do want to get started with my other book today, which is The Rules of Magic by Alice Hoffman, and get to about page 73 of that one. Hey guys, so it's going on 12:30 in the afternoon on Monday, and I never finished out this vlog. So I want to quickly just wrap up with you guys what I read. I had a lot of stuff that I read this past week with Mini Magical Readathon and continuing with GreekGodathon. So I'm just gonna quickly run over everything that I got through. So this week I basically read and completed Ace of Spades by Faridah Abike-Iyimide. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars, absolutely loved it, was absolutely amazing. This was for my book club that I am participating in with Princess, the royally booked club. And it also, for GreekGodathon, was for my prompt of Artemis, which was to read an anticipated read, and for Mini Magical Readathon was for one of my conduits, which was a spell book where I had to read a book with 2 S's in the title. Then I finished Black House finally this past week, which was for GreekGodathon, my prompt for Athena, which was to read an intended read for 2022, and because this was already a part of my Stephen King reading series, it worked out super well, so I got that done. I also ended up reading the entirety of Renegades by Marissa Meyer for my reread series, but also this was to count for GreekGodathon's prompt Hera, which was to read a book with a strong female protagonist. Also gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. Black House ended up getting 2 stars, which that was definitely the worst of the books I read. I did end up also finishing The Great Hunt over this past week by Robert Jordan. This is book 2 in the Wheel of Time series, and wasn't counting for anything specific other than just trying to get it done because I had struggled with getting through it the last couple of months. Then I read the entirety also of The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski. This is the prequel novella collection basically for the Witcher series, and for this it was for my Wheel of D20, with my final Wheel of D20 book, which was a Robert pick. This also, though, counted for GreekGodathon to read a book with the undead for the prompt Hades, and for Mini Magical Readathon, this was also for my legacy prompt, which was to have a book with an animal familiar, and this one had Roach, who is the mare that Geralt uses. Then finally, last night, I did end up finishing The Rules of Magic by Alice Hoffman. I left the book upstairs, so I'm not going to go get it, but this was a read that I wanted to get through for the fact that I started magic lessons earlier this year and wanted to read the entire Practical Magic series. But for this was to complete my prompt for GreekGodathon to read a cozy read for Hestia, and also this completed my final Mini Magical Readathon prompt, which was one for my other conduit, which was for a quarterstaff, which then was to read a book from a quartet. And as far as I know, this is one of the only books in this 4-book series. I don't know if they're going to continue with it as of now. I have no idea, but for right now it's a quartet. So I did complete all of the books I needed to for Mini Magical Readathon, and I am down to my final read for GreekGodathon, which is The Dragon Reborn for the prompt Hephaestus. I'm supposed to finish this today. I'm a little bit under halfway through it right now, and I think that if I can get through the rest of the day listening to it while working and read some of it tonight, I should be able to. Then next week, pretty much my main goal is to get through The Shadow Rising, which is book 4 in the Wheel of Time, because currently I'm reading The Dragon Reborn. Pretty much it's going to be immediately after this, I'll be transitioning to The Shadow Rising, and then at the end of next week, so like basically Sunday, I will be finishing The Shadow Rising, and then I will be finally finishing out March with Practical Magic by Alice Hoffman, which was just another book I wanted to read for the month, not necessarily for GreekGodathon or anything. Anyway, thank you all so much for joining me in this video. If you guys did enjoy it, please do give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already and you'd like to be and would like to see more content like this, go ahead and hit that button down below and subscribe to become an owlet in our flock. And I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye guys.